There's one thing that an example came up just the other day, and I bet most reps don't do as good a job of this as they need to, and it can make a huge difference. Welcome back. My name is Brent with the In-Home Sales Expert. And this just happened to me the other day, and it made me think, you know what? I need to do a video on this because it is so, so important. There are most sales reps in general, but in-home sales reps, a lot of them have really good talents, right? You can be a good closer. You can really guide your customers in the right, to make the decision. You have a ton of a talent for relating to customers. You have all these abilities, but there's one thing that almost all sales reps are horrible about, and that's taking notes on the sale. I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about? Taking notes on your sale is super important. And not only taking notes, but making notes after you make the sale, wherever you need to put those notes, where it is crystal clear for the people that are going to set up the installations and the order verifying and all those things. All those notes are so important. Everybody has a different process. I'll just give you an example of one of mine. And this came up the other day, and I thought, this is exactly what I'm talking about. After I sell a project, I go back and I take notes and I put it in our ordering system, exactly what we talked about. So this customer, for instance, had some really old trim around their windows, and the trim had big knots of pine. So some of you have been in the in-home sales industry or any construction or remodeling, you'll know what I'm talking about. Old pine trim has bigger knots in it. New pine, where we get the wood from these days, doesn't have very many knots in it at all. Or they're tiny, right? So, but older pine or a number 2 pine, which is a specific type of trim, has bigger knots in it. And you can still get that, but it's way more expensive. It is super expensive to do that. Anyway, I put that in my notes, and I put exactly what needed to be done. So the installers, as they're ordering things, can say, because this customer had this house that is built with a lot of wood, not only a lot of wood, but almost like big, huge tree-like posts inside. Not a cabin, but just a ton of wood. And they love that pine with the big knots in it. Fast forward, everything gets installed. The windows go in nice. Everything's fantastic, except the trim that it had on it did not have those big knots. We didn't order the big trim. At first it was fine. But then what happened was, over the couple, 2 or 3 months, the customer was like, you know what? I really wanted this, the trim. Either use the old trim, which was in my notes too, that you could use the old trim if needed, if we can't find the other stuff. But really, really wanted that. And it became a pretty big issue. So I was visiting with my manager about it. We're going through all the process, and then we're, kind of up the chain. They're like, I'm sorry, this is it. This is the way it is. And if they want to go with that, we can, charge them X amount of dollars more. We can go back and retrim them. I'm like, you know what? Man, I'm just not sure about that. So we walked through it. And as we went a little deeper, I'm like, let's look at the notes and see what is said there. And sure enough, it specifically says either customer wants the bigger knots in the pine, either use existing trim or make sure the trim is like what they have now. So for whatever reason, cost or whatever, when we installed that, we did not do that, right? So it didn't get put in. We didn't install it that way. And when my manager went back and looked at that, we're like, man, you know what? That they are right. It says that they wanted that same trim. Having those notes to go back on, if I wouldn't have had those notes in there and we wouldn't have put the installation notes in, we probably would have charged them an astronomical amount to go back and do that, or they would have been even more upset than they are. Having those notes and something to go back made a huge difference, and we were able to finally get things put together, get that one closed out. The customer was happy. It took a lot longer than it needed to, but it all ended up in a good way. Having notes like that, and I know, a lot of times you think, "Ah, it's such a, we're doing so many other things, and then I'll just put a few little notes in there." If you want to make sure that your jobs, especially when the job something goes wrong, and it's probably the sales rep's fault, if you have good notes on there, it will cover your backside more than once. I guarantee it. So, if you're looking to get better at in-home sales, we go through a ton of different real-world solutions and real-world exercises. I invite you to subscribe. Also, we have a place called the Community Credibility Closers Community. It's a more in-depth if you want to go deeper. We have a membership community that does really a deep dive in all sorts of different types of real world sales appointments, which is awesome. And I'll leave links in the descriptions for that, and then also my website, which has all sorts of training options. So if you're looking to get better, click the subscribe button and let's get started.